What's up, everybody? Welcome to Take No Offense, a couple of old friends who grew up together in Pennsylvania. Now we live on opposite sides of the country. This is our chance to get together to share our thoughts on politics, sports, TV, and movies. I'm Eric Messersmith in the Los Angeles area. That's Brian Johnson in suburban Washington, D.C. What is up, buddy?
I missed your face. It's been 2 weeks. It's been
Yeah,
too long.
we took a week off. It's messed up the rhythm of life, right?
It
I'm trying to
really
think if
has. I
we
look forward to
missed.
this every week. And last week I sat in a chair like the guy in the meme on the swing. I was outside staring. I was like, where's my friend Eric?
You could have just done a show by yourself, like a
Oh
10-minute
God, how
rant.
terrible would that show be?
All right, so Brian, the DNC Democratic National Convention is underway in the Windy City, Chicago. Night one last night, you had President Biden speaking in kind of his political swan song, most likely the last major political address he'll give. I'm sure he'll do some campaigning for Harris, but this was the last big shot for him. And then tonight, as we're recording this Tuesday, coming up a few hours from now, the Obamas are on tap. Of course, Vice presidential candidate Waltz will go tomorrow night, and then Kamala Harris on Thursday. So how much have you watched the convention, or are you planning to watch the convention over the next few days?
Zero. Not at all.
You're not planning on tuning in at all?
No, because look, here is like open kimono transparency. I already know who I'm voting for. It was decided a long time ago. It doesn't really matter. I'm very familiar with the Democratic agenda. I'm very familiar with the candidate. I don't really care about the vice presidential nominee. It wouldn't sway my vote one way or another. I, look, you're bringing out some of my favorites. President Barack Obama, who I was a huge fan of. Um, I'm probably I don't know if I'm in the minority here, but like I loved Hillary Clinton, man. I definitely voted for Hillary Clinton. She's out here talking about glass ceilings,
She
doing
gave a
her
nice
thing.
speech. She
She
gave a
loves
nice
the
speech
glass
last
ceiling,
night.
man. She
Yeah.
really wanted to break that thing. She seems bitter she lost. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I think so. But I thought she did a good job last night. She gave a pretty good speech. So you won't even watch like Obama tonight. You won't even tune in for 5 minutes.
No, I mean, I do the thing that I think that a lot of people that are busy and living life do, which is like I'm reading the Cliff's Notes version of what happened, right? I'm going to the sources or the silos, as some will say, that I want to hear from about what happened. Mine happens to be CNN. I go to CNN and I see how the Democratic convention went. I read about it and I feel good about it. That's about
All
it,
right.
man.
Yeah, well, what was your impression of just kind of the vibes of Biden? I know you obviously didn't see the whole speech,
I
but like in
didn't.
terms of him stepping away and just kind of it's because look, this was a month ago that he
Yeah.
decided to do something that we have never seen in our lifetimes and hadn't happened since 1968, which was a sitting president give up a chance to be his party's nominee for the election.
I think I've said this on the podcast, but him giving that up is the reason that I voted for him. And in its simplest terms, I genuinely believe that Joe Biden cares about the United States of America. And I felt like as president, he would put the American people first, be it whether you believed in his policies or what he was going to do. All of that was secondary to someone who cared about his country more than he cared about himself. That's as simple as I can explain it. And that's why I voted for Joe Biden. That's why I love Joe Biden. I'm so happy that he's getting a swan song, 4 minutes standing ovation,
Yes.
et cetera, et cetera. He deserves it. He's been a patriot. God bless him. What more can I say? I really, this is why I voted for Joe Biden.
I thought one of his best lines last night was when he said, "I love my job, but I love my country more."
And that's
And I
the
almost,
reason for leaving.
yeah. And then there was one point I believe he ad libbed the line. And I don't think it was in his speech. He said, "I was too young to be a senator because he was elected senator when he was 29, and now I'm too old to be president."
That's
I
a
mean,
great line.
yeah, it was a great line. And then he also had a nice line about quoting a song at the end where he talked about, what have you given for your country? I've given it all I've had, essentially, which I mean, look, love him or hate him,
Yes.
50 years of public service. I will say this. I wish almost his speech would have dwelled even more on that, even more on kind of the arc of his career and what's changed, how he's helped lead his party to a new direction. There was a lot of kind of red meat attacking Trump, which was fine. Some of it
Yeah,
was
it's
overblown.
necessary.
Some of it was over the top. Some
It
of it
is a
was
convention
inaccurate.
after all.
It is. It is. And there was a lot of building of his legacy, which again, totally understandable. I would want to defend my legacy too. I think if you're being fair, he has a very long, especially for a one term in the modern era, very long legacy of accomplishments.
I don't want to get you off
Or
track,
list
but
of
I think
accomplishments.
history is going to remember Joe Biden extremely favorably. I
think
really
it depends.
do.
I think a lot of it, and I think he knows this. I think a lot of how that history remembers him will be based on what happens in November. Because
Really?
you're right. Like, I agree with what you were saying earlier, that he deserves a tremendous amount of credit for doing something that many politicians wouldn't have done. Remember, it's not like he was down by 15 or 20 points. He was down by 5. Now, he was pretty likely to lose, but it wasn't out of the question that he could have turned it around. So you could imagine someone who loves that job, who's worked for it all their lives, convincing themselves to just be like, no, I'm not going to do it. I don't care what you say, Nancy
Well, that would have been
Pelosi.
me.
Right. That would have clearly been Donald Trump. I mean, does anybody think Donald Trump would have given it up? Come on.
No,
of course
God,
not.
no.
Of course not. So he deserves credit. However, as I've said before, I think it's also fair to point out that he had to be pushed and shoved. Ultimately, yes, he gets credit for making the decision, but it was Nancy Pelosi, among others, who were publicly and privately putting the pressure on him and making it clear that the pressure was going to be turned up if he continued to resist.
Well, look at the momentum. That's what this convention is all about.
Yes, and it worked. And Pelosi and the others were right. And I'm glad. I've said they should have done it. I'm glad they did do it. That's what mature, responsible parties do. But what I'm saying is that takes away a little bit from the shine of this. Wasn't like Biden the day after the debate came out and said, you know what, I just don't think I can do this anymore, and stepped aside. Then I would give him like 100%.
Okay. So
but now
what are you at, 75%?
I'll give him like 65% credit.
65, okay. So he still it fails by modern standard of grading, but he's got 2/3 majority.
But
he has a super majority.
But here's why I say what's really going to determine it will be the election result, because if Harris wins, then I think history will look back and say, well, this guy beat Trump. He ended that, threat to democracy that Trump may have, and I think did pose. And he had a very successful term, and then he left and handed it off to his heir apparent, who then was able to defeat Trump, riding the momentum, right? That's a pretty clean story. I think it becomes much
through the prism of like now. I'm talking 20 years from now.
But
whether Harris wins or not.
But the alternative is, especially, look, we don't know. We don't know what a second Trump term would be like. Maybe it would be all flowers and rainbows and roses and everyone would be happy, right? I doubt it. It's likely to go bad, and it could go very bad. And my point is, if that happens, it's bad to very bad, right? Let's say, then Biden will get blame, I think rightfully so, for putting his party in a position where their only choices were run an 81-year-old man clearly past his prime who was very, very likely to lose, or throw it to his vice president at the last minute who didn't really have a chance to get her legs underneath her and may
I think she is
not have. I do too, but I'm saying, and may not have been the best candidate. So I'm saying if it's a loss, then I think history will say this was not handled well. This was a man who waited too long, should have done this if he was going to do. Because look, in hindsight, right? And again, I know I'm not saying we should judge him entirely on hindsight, because hindsight is always, as they say, 2020, right? But in hindsight, I mean, it's obvious that the thing that he should have done was late last year step aside and allow for an open process.
That's not unfair.
And look, maybe Kamala still gets it. I think she's proven herself to be a better politician than many thought. So she very well, as the sitting vice president, may have done it, but at least she would have earned it. And if she wasn't up for it, because remember, it's been a month, she still has not done an interview, which, I don't think that's a huge deal yet, but it will become a big deal as time goes on. She certainly hasn't had the debate. We'll see. But if she didn't have it, we would have seen that in the primary process. Now, if she doesn't have it, it's going to be too late. There's nothing else to do. And I think Biden, if she loses, will rightly get blamed for that. I'm not saying it destroys his legacy completely, but I think it's a pretty big black mark on his legacy, especially if Trump is as bad as many people fear he could be.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I still think Trump is going to win the election, regardless of what's happening now.
Oh, you do?
Spoiler alert. Uh,
Wow.
no, I really do. I just think the pendulum swings faster now than it did when you and I were kids in AP government. Who was our teacher, by the way? What was his name?
I believe that was Mr. Lowe.
Oh, yes. Oh, Mr. Lowe. I hope he's okay. I hope he's still getting his medication. But my point being is that historically, the momentum has swung slower than it does now. And I think that we went from a Republican to a Democrat. I just think we're headed back to President Trump, who's been intriguing me lately, praising Obama. I don't know if you saw that, Eric.
I did not see that.
He did. He actually said he's a gentleman, and I really like him. Which this is a man who did the birther thing for months on end, but now he's here giving. This is why I really do think Trump is going to win, and it sounds crazy because of things like this, though, because he's giving Obama credit, he's giving Hillary Clinton credit, like he continues to astound me on every level as we go. He just does.
I mean, he's all over the place because he does that, but then he also talks about, Kamala Harris turning black a few weeks ago. I mean,
no, I know. And that, God, oh my God, we didn't get to talk about the Black Journalism Conference and how poorly that went. I think we missed that.
It was bad. It was really bad.
Oh, that was really bad.
So I don't know if I agree with you or not. I would say,
come on, man, he's gonna win.
I mean, the betting odds right now.
Oh, I love this.
Because I look at the polling a lot, and I think I think it's very close to 50-50. Let me say that. It's very, as we sit here today, gun to my head, I think I would pick Harris. But
really?
Do I feel really?
Oh my God, that's as high as my voice has ever got on this podcast.
I think
based on what?
Right now, by the way, electionbettingodds.com, which aggregates the betting of several different betting sites, has Harris at 49, Trump at 49. Now this is a change. Last week, Harris was up 54-44. So that just, and what's happening, and by the way, and this will roll us into the next topic I want to talk to you about. Some of this, if not all of this or most of this, is driven by because Trump is up 2.5% today, and Harris is down 2.5% just today. Yeah. So that's a net 5-point swing. And the reason I think in large part for that is the news that's coming out today that RFK Jr. may ban to drop out of the race.
He's going to endorse Trump. I saw that
with Trump. His vice president said his vice presidential candidate, Nicole Shannon, I think is her name.
Yeah.
Said on a podcast that they are debating joining forces with Trump or staying in the race to try to get 5%, which she said would qualify them for some ballots next time around. Right now, just to Kennedy, now, if you don't follow the polling as closely as I do, Kennedy was earlier this year polling all over the place, but he was consistently in like the 10 to 20% range. He was polling very well. But since the debate, it really started before the debate, but since Biden dropped out, his numbers have plummeted. He's now on the Real Clear Politics average, he's getting 4.5%.
You know who said they love RFK and they would give him a spot in government if they win?
Who?
Donald Trump.
Yeah, look, it seems like the only thing left to do is the official offer. Because look, Donald Trump says a lot of things to a lot of people. He does, right?
That's fair.
So if I'm Kennedy, I'm not. Yeah,
take it with a grain of salt, there, Mitt Romney.
So there's two ways to talk about that. First, let's talk about the ethics of it, right? Look, politics is a dirty business. We know that. Yeah. I do think it's interesting that there was reporting, I believe it was the Washington Post last week, that RFK had reached out to the Harris campaign through intermediaries and had said, I will endorse you if you give me a unspecified cabinet or high level position. Mm-hmm. And he was rebuffed. And the Harris people were like, go take a walk.
Why wouldn't?
Well, right. Look, I just think it's interesting that is it smart to maximize your position? The answer to that, I think, is yes.
Of course.
Is that how much credibility do you have?
It doesn't matter.
You have been flirting with both
candidates.
It's
2024. Credibility doesn't mean anything anymore. Are you kidding me? Come on, man.
So you don't knock his credibility at all if he comes out next week and says, vote for Donald Trump, he's the best, a week after
I
reports
would
were that he
expect nothing less.
Right,
If
well,
you
I
have
would
5 to 10%, 10 on the high end, but let's say you have 3 to 5% of the electorate.
that's more that's more accurate.
In
3 to 5.
your pocket. You're not going to win the election. So like let's maximize value here, man. That's just smart business.
It is. It is. I don't think it's very, I don't know what the word
Ethical?
is. I mean, yeah, it's not very ethical, but RFK Jr., look, he's a bit of a train wreck. I did a whole half a podcast on Everybody Settle Down, my other podcast with Charlie.
Everybody
about
settle down. I
RFK
want to listen
Jr..
to this.
The RFK Jr. people, they despise me. And I'm not, look, I'm not even
I
going to
got that
into it.
vibe from the other ones I've listened to.
I'm not a fan. Although, again, I've said, and I said this on the podcast, I'll say now, I think he's a very interesting guy, and I think I would like him personally if we hung out. But as I said, there's a lot of people I like personally or that I think are interesting that I don't think should be anywhere near the presidency. But anyway,
Eric, how dare you?
here's the thing. So in Real Clear Politics average, the average right now, Harris Trump one-on-one with no other candidates mentioned, Harris is ahead by 1.5. In the larger race with RFK Jr., Jill Stein, Cornel West, some of the smaller candidates, Harris is ahead by 1.5. Exactly the same. Now, that's different than before when Biden was in. When Biden was in, Trump did better with RFK in. So it seemed like RFK and the others were hurting Biden. But Harris has been doing a little bit better up until recently with the larger field, which would imply that, and that makes sense too, because if you followed RFK Jr.'s campaign at all, you know that the way he talks, the things he talks about, the outlets he goes on are very similar to they're like MAGA adjacent. Like he speaks the language of conspiracy.
He's a very progressive MAGA adjacent candidate.
Yes, he is. And so it makes sense. It also makes sense because I think, and I've said this all year, a lot of RFK Jr. support was people who didn't like either Biden or Trump and couldn't really stomach them and were just kind of parking it with RFK. And I think that was a lot of Democrats, actually. And then when Biden left and they finally had a candidate who they felt like was up to it and young, they're like, all right, I'm good. I'm back with Harris now. And I think that's clearly what has happened. Now, here's the thing. Given what I told you about the polling, the fact that it's the same with or without him in the race, do you think if he's at 3 or 5%, it matters? Like, do you think he could convince his 3% to all go or mostly go for Donald Trump?
I do, which is why I think it has value. I think that's why Trump said he wants RFK. He basically said he wants RFK's endorsement and he would consider giving him a position because he knows it has value.
Yeah. No, and I think it does. And I think that's why the betting odds have moved. And I think they should move because everything, again, things can change. Always that caveat. God, who would have thought 3 months ago would be where we are now? But if this tracks like it is now, it's going to be very close. And it's going to be probably a lot like 2020 or 2016, where it comes down to 50, 100,000 votes, maybe less in 3 or 4 states.
Yep.
Given that, and RFK Jr. in a lot of these swing states is getting 2, 3, 4%, 5%. Right. If that breaks 3-1 to Trump, that's enough. That's enough.
It is. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Yeah. Look, from a strategic standpoint, I certainly don't blame Trump. And I don't even really blame Kennedy. I just think when you brand your, and look, this is part of I have a lot of problems. When you brand yourself as I'm different, right? Yeah. I'm not like those Republicans and those Democrats. I'm not a politician. I'm not about the duopoly. I want something different. I'm an outsider. I'm about integrity. I'm not about following your team. And because this is what he's pinned himself on, right? And then you do something this shameless, if they do it, which
it is politics, though. Come on.
It is. It is. As of the time of this recording, he has not announced that yet that I've seen, but it's clearly on the table and the betting markets are moving as a result. All right, Brian, sports odds and ends. Well, the NFL season's coming up, man. Fast approaching. Last week of the preseason.
So exciting.
I watched 1.5 quarters of the Steelers preseason game. That's the first and last preseason action I'll be watching this year. It was hard to stomach, especially that game. They lost to the Bills 9-3. It was a thriller.
Oh, wow.
But
the
one thing that did catch my interest, I guess, like a tiny teensy bit, was the new kickoff rule, which if you haven't seen it, in the NFL now, it used to be last year, kickoffs were only returned, I think, at a 22% clip, which was an all-time low. So in order to get more returns, but make the play marginally, or I guess much safer, they now have the landing zone where the kick has to fall between the goal line and the 20, and all of the players for both teams are only separated by 10 yards, basically, except for the kicker and the returners. So they're standing, and they can't move until the ball is touched or hits the ground. What it has resulted in so far is a lot more returns. I think so far it's been 78% of kicks returned. So 22% last year in the regular season, 78 this year. So do you like that role or not, Brian, so far?
Or were you even aware I'd like to see more kick returns. I think it's pretty. I mean, Devin Hester's in the Hall of Fame this year, right?
That's
As
true.
A kick returner, punt returner.
If you're gonna,
I'd like to see more returns. Period.
Yeah, I agree. If you're gonna have the play, either have it or get rid of it. Right. I'm glad they did something, because the status quo wasn't working. It was just
it's basically play. Let's start at the 25-yard line.
Yeah. So this is a nice change. It's a 1-year experiment. We'll see how it goes. If this doesn't work, they should just get rid of the kickoff. Just get rid of it altogether and just give the team the ball. And then if a team wants to onside kick, I'm using the air quotes, because remember, they've changed the onside kick rules too over the years to the point where guys
hate
can't
the onside kick
So
rule.
They've changed the rules so much, they made it so hard that it is nearly impossible to recover a kick, right? And now you can't even, with these new rules, you can't even do a surprise onside kick. You have to announce it, which makes it even less likely. It's
impossible.
So I would rather just go with the role where you get the ball, and if you want to try to onside kick, you get like a 4th and 20 from your own 25-yard line or something.
I think the highlight here, though, is that football is back. What is your Sunday routine?
Oh,
do you watch? So I want to hear this. What I don't know. I honestly don't know. You're my best friend. I've loved you forever. What is your Sunday routine?
It's kind of up there. My wife works weekends, so I'm alone with my 10-year-old son, and it depends on the mood he is in. If he's in I'm chill and stay at home mode, then I'm in for like a long day. But to be honest with you, it hasn't been like that last few years. So I really don't watch a ton of football anymore. I watch the Steelers. I usually get the Sunday. I got the Sunday ticket last year. I'll probably get it again this year. Although the Steelers are on prime time so much, and they're on national coverage, so you don't really need it. But I'll probably get it.
Like 30 seconds. Fields or Russ?
Oh, God. Steelers starting quarterback is what Brian's referring to. If you've watched the first 2 games, Russell Wilson only played 1 because he had a calf injury. I think Fields would be in the pole position for me.
He has the most upside.
He has because of his legs. I mean, it's as simple as that. Like Russell Wilson is not what he was. He's 35, and Fields, even against that game against the Bills that I mentioned earlier, the one like nice drive they had at the end of the half was Fields making a play when the pocket broke down effortlessly, really. That's so critical in today's NFL when you have 2 quarterbacks who, let's just say, are probably both passing challenged at this stage of Wilson's career. So I would probably go with Fields, with the caveat that I'm not obviously at practice each day, so I don't see that.
When Russell Wilson retires, he should be the White House press secretary. He's the best interview that I've ever heard. Him and Mike Tomlin, the blinking, the not blinking, just the whole thing, man. I love Russell Wilson for that. I was just curious what you thought.
Oh yeah. Well, what about you? Who would you go with?
I go with Fields. He has more upside. Period.
He's like 8, 9 years younger.
Yeah.
There still might be something there. And again, the legs, man. And the Steelers offensive line, who knows? They're going to start a rookie at center. They might start a rookie at tackle. Broderick Jones, who was last year's first-round pick, has looked awful. Now, I know it's preseason, but he's been terrible. So you may need that, is my point. You may not be able to depend on a solid line. And it's a shame because the Steelers' defense, I think, could be really good this year. They got some other really good players. But as you know, as a football fan,
they'll be 9-8, 10-7. Right. They'll be right there.
Well, they're going to be capped by their quarterback. Because it doesn't – I mean, it only matters so much how good the other 52 players and 51 players on your roster are if your quarterback is mediocre. What about you? What's your Sunday NFL routine?
I usually tune in at 1. I do Red Zone. I love the Steelers, but I do Red Zone. I usually fall asleep about 1:15, and then I wake up at about 3:45 for the witching hour. And then I watch the witching hour for like 45 minutes. And I'm like, oh, that was exciting. And then there's 3 games on. Usually it's the Arizona Cardinals.
Yeah.
Yes. In the 4:15 hour. And I'm like, all right, I don't care about this. And I do my day. And then I watch Sunday Night Football. That's my routine.
That's fair. That's kind of similar to how I am. Because remember, and the weird thing is I grew up like you, as I mentioned at the beginning of the show, on the East Coast. So I was used to that one kick. I've lived in LA now for almost 5 years, almost 5.5 years. The 10 a.m. kick
is
a different thing.
I get jealous of that.
I would not have liked it when I was younger and I was out till the wee hours of the morning on Saturdays. But now that I'm an old man and I go to bed at 10 or 11 o'clock, it's great. So what I do is I usually can keep my son happy enough that I'll watch the first 3 hours, 10 to 1. I'll catch the witching hour.
Oh, the witching hour.
And then I probably won't watch football again until like halftime of the Sunday night game.
That's right.
Because I'll be doing other things. That's kind of my MO as well. Yeah. All right, Brian, any reviews this week for us?
Okay, so I've been watching Designated Survivor, which is an old show that no one cares about. But here's the point.
Just to be clear,
it's on Netflix.
How old is this show? Because I remember seeing
4 or 5 years old. It's not that old. It's not that old.
And it stars Kiefer Sutherland, right?
It does. And my only larger point to this is that Kiefer Sutherland has moved slightly behind Nicolas Cage as my favorite actor in anything. Like Kiefer Sutherland, because I have such nostalgia for 24. The show is stupid. Like it's dumb. And just
Designated Survivor, you're saying, is dumb.
Well, it's dumb from the perspective of like, I don't know a president's going to manage this many emergencies, right? Like it's a space shuttle thing. It's a terrorist attack. It's just something one week after the other. But like, I love Kiefer Sutherland, Designated Survivor. I mean, look, it's a 6 out of 10, probably. Okay. It's not a great show. I'm not saying it's one of the best shows ever. What I would say is, am I enjoying it? Yes. Do I love Kiefer Sutherland? Yes, I do.
While you were saying that, I looked. So Designated Survivor aired originally from 2016 to 2019. I believe it was on ABC.
Right. And then it moved to Netflix. I'm not on the 3rd season yet.
IMDb gives it a 7.4 out of 10.
Ooh, okay, higher than me.
And apparently there's a spinoff called Designated Survivor 60 Days, which is also a Netflix show.
Look. Is it a great show? No. Do I like it? Yes. Am I going to finish it? Absolutely. And that's all that matters, man. At the end of the day, right?
Yeah. Any other reviews this week? Have you watched anything? Been watching anything else? I
haven't watched The Bear yet. I'm sorry. I tried to log into Hulu, but I don't have an account.
What?
I don't know.
You don't have Disney Plus either?
I do.
It's on Disney Plus as well.
I went on Disney Plus. I looked for The Bear and it didn't show up.
Oh.
I may be technologically challenged.
So, yeah, maybe Disney Plus isn't doing it anymore because Hulu is obviously owned by Disney, too. So for a while, there was like a tab. You know, on Disney Plus, it's got like Star Wars, Marvel. There was also one for Hulu. But maybe there isn't.
Because I want to see Murders in the Building. Like, that's going to be great.
I've never seen that either.
Oh, dude, I hear that's good. You should watch it. It's really good. I mean, Steve Martin, all-time great comedian. Yes. Martin Short, fantastic. I mean, Selena Gomez, whatever. I do recommend Murders in the Building. I really do.
And then I watched a decent amount of the Olympics, as we talked about.
Yeah.
I got into that last week. I watched
Raygun, man.
And now I've been watching the like political stuff. And so I haven't really watched much at all. My wife made me watch Love is Blind UK edition.
She made you watch, please. You made her watch.
No,
stop it.
Did. Look, I've said it before on this podcast. if you're gonna do trashy reality, you can do a lot worse.
I know you love this show, man.
I wouldn't say I love it. I will
No,
say
you
that
love it.
it's
Stop.
well done. I I think you need to fast forward through parts of it. There are parts that drag a little too much, but Netflix knows how to make reality TV. I'm telling you. And Love is Blind, an American show that's become a phenomenon in America. Now they have one, in different
Oh,
places
yeah.
all over the world. So look, it's a really cool concept. You're behind a wall, you don't see the other person, you get
Well,
married.
no, it's like Designated Survivor is a great concept. I mean, for a show, come on,
It
dude.
is.
It's
It is. You're right.
fantastic. And Kiefer
Yeah.
Sutherland, like I said, who's your number one actor? Who's an actor, if they're in anything, you're going to watch it?
Ooh. That's a great question. Sadly, I don't think I have one.
Mine is Nicolas Cage.
That's fair. That's a
I'd
good
watch
one.
Nick Cage do whatever. I
What's
love him.
interesting? I was thinking about this the other day, and I'm not the first person to make this point, but I was thinking about who was like when we were growing up,
Yes.
there were bona fide movie stars,
Yes.
like big name people who got paid tens of millions of dollars.
John
open
Travolta.
Movies. Right. I mean, the list goes on, right? You had Tom Cruise, Tom Hanks, Dustin
for
Hoffman, and if you go back, Al Pacino and Robert Duvall and Robert De Niro and Jack Nicholson. And they're obviously still there, a lot of those people, and Brad Pitt and George Clooney. But I was thinking about this, who under 40 right now
Under 40
is a huge movie star?
I don't know how old Ryan Reynolds is, but
Yeah, that's
who
who I
Reynolds?
thought. I thought Ryan Reynolds, but I'm betting he's over 40. I'll check. But other than him, and it just shows you how times have changed. Like there are big movie stars still, but for the most part, they're like middle-aged or older.
But don't you
Ryan
think you
Reynolds
have
is
to have that middle age?
He's 47. No, but my point is,
to be a movie star.
Tom Hanks was a huge, I'll say under 50. Tom Hanks was a huge movie star.
Yes.
Way before he hit 50. Tom Cruise was a huge movie star.
In his 20s.
Harrison Ford.
Oh, yeah.
Was like 30 when Star Wars came out. I mean, Raiders of the Lost Ark, I think he was in his early 30s. That you just don't see that as much anymore. And I think it's because of how television has kind of taken over as the main or kind of like the dominant visual media, even more so than TV. But even on movies, even on TV, is there a massive TV star that's under 40 that like is a household name that everybody loves?
Where did this come from? Where did you see this? Because that's such a great question, man.
I don't even know. I think I heard somebody mention it like a year ago. And then I was sitting at the pool the other day, as I often do in the summer, or at the beach maybe. It's, this is beach and pool season out here. And I was just thinking of random. I'm like,
what about Zac Efron?
Yep, that's the other one. God, we think alike. Ryan Reynolds and Zac Efron were the two I thought of. And I just found out Ryan Reynolds is 47. Zac Efron, to me, is a big star. But, like, I don't know.
No, he's not Tom Cruise, man.
But I don't think he's on anywhere near the level. Again, think about Hanks and Cruise.
No.
And
no.
In the 80s and 90s.
Not even close.
Not even close. Not even close. Zac Efron is only 36, so he would qualify by my age. But I just don't think, who it might be, honestly, is Sydney Sweeney.
You know what, man? She pops up on my Facebook feed a lot. Yes. And here's the thing, it's so weird. Like, not to go off the reservation, but this was an honest question thing I had with my wife, where I was like, Trisha, I have never Googled Sydney Sweeney. I don't know who she is. I don't know what she plays in.
I don't know about that.
I know. Look, I get it, and I agree with you. But I swear to God on my life, I did not know who she was until I was like, who is this large-breasted woman who keeps appearing on my feed? Like, why are they just pummeling me with her every single day? I don't know what she's in. I don't know what she stars in. I don't know anything about her. But, okay, I can see that.
Yeah,
but what about Selena Gomez though? Because Murders in the Building and everything.
Yeah,
she's really famous.
She was known even more for music. Like that's the thing. I'm
talking
about people who are movie stars. And the thing about Sweeney is she's more known for what you said, being a beauty, being internet, sensation.
I only know she was in Madam Web because of my Facebook feed. Dude, I'm not even joking.
She just had a rom-com last year that became a huge hit. mainly because of her and her marketing.
What about the Harry Potter people, real
she's
quick?
She's famous for Euphoria, which I've never really watched, but I hear is good
Yes,
on HBO.
that's where I
on
was going.
Max.
Tom Holland, under 40. Zoe, is her name Zoe?
See, if we don't even know how to say
Zoe
their
Saldana,
name, then they don't fit. She's a big star, but no, again, not like we were talking about. Okay, here's IMDb's. I've just the 20 best actors under 40. Michael Fassbender.
sure. Come on, Michael Fassbender is fantastic.
Yeah, but he's not a movie. He's not a massive movie star.
All
I'm not
right, fair
making a
enough.
comment on Benedict Cumberbatch. Yeah,
He's
great.
under 40.
Not a
Doctor
massive movie star.
Strange.
Tom Hardy, Jake
Yes.
Gyllenhaal,
Tom Hardy, Jake Gyllenhaal. They're all under 40.
Cillian
Okay.
Murphy,
Yeah.
Eddie Redmayne,
Yeah.
Joseph Gordon-Levitt. I don't think some of these people are under 40. I think this list is wrong.
Yeah, I do
Some
too,
of these
because
people are not under
older than
40.
me.
Yeah, right. This is a bad list.
Like,
Let's
if
be
it's
honest.
me and Tom Hardy, I know I have a lot of gray hair, but I would bet we're
This-
around the same age.
this
Hold
is
on,
a
I
dated
have to
list.
Google how old Tom Hardy is while we're
Yeah.
doing this, man. Because I bet me and Tom Hardy are very close to the same age.
Tom Hardy's 46.
Yeah,
that
he's
was a
46.
full list.
I'm 45. That's what I'm saying.
All right,
This
Brian.
list is terrible. Where did you get this list
This
from?
was an IMDb list.
Oh, God, what
Maybe-
a terrible list.
It was a bad list. It's like 10 years old.
Okay, so
All right.
seriously though, Tom Holland and Zoe Saldana are like they're like the young people, right?
Yeah. But again,
Because of that tennis movie where she like hurts her knee. I never saw it, but it got good reviews.
Yeah, but they're not anywhere near. Yeah, maybe we just that, and that people have said, and this is again where I think where the genesis of the idea came. I think I remember people talking about the last movie stars, like who was the last movie star, implying we will never have one again. And not that we won't have great actors, we have amazing actors, or we won't have people who are successful.
But there won't be like a Leonardo DiCaprio on
Right.
Titanic, is what you're saying.
Right.
I
There
don't
won't
believe
be a
that.
Tom
I really
Hanks,
don't.
a Tom Cruise.
No,
there
dude,
won't be someone.
I don't think that's true. I think maybe there's a gap we're having, something like that. But I think there will be next movie star. I think that will exist. I really do. Because, man, young people, and this is the thing that old people like me and you miss, is young people control everything. Like, whatever the style is, whatever the fashion is, whatever the it thing is, like, even though at my advanced age I may not appreciate it or like it, young people are setting the tone for what those things are. So I refuse to believe that there won't be some, young person, like early 20, like there's going to be another Brad Pitt. There's going to be another Tom Cruise. I refuse to believe that won't happen.
I don't know.
Because what about Tom Holland, man? Tom Holland's a young guy. Spider-Man, come on.
I don't think, look, here's the thing. If you haven't gotten there by the time you're in your 30s, I guess it's possible. Like Brad Pitt, somebody said this the other day. Brad Pitt is older than Tim Walz.
Yeah, that's fair. Well, if you put them side by side, I don't think you'd land on that. But yes.
No, Brad Pitt is 60 and Tom Walz is 60, which is crazy. But that's the point. I mean, because Brad Pitt still, he still looks great, but he was a movie star. He is what I'm talking about. George Clooney, who's also probably 60 or older, right?
No, he was older when he got started.
He was one of those people who probably didn't.
But I'm talking about like the Jason Bateman's, like the Michael P. Keatons, like Michael J. Fox, like those kind of like young stars. You don't think they're going to come back? I do.
Maybe. I think you might see like you're going to see people on maybe those. Here's the thing. I'm talking about someone who has like a 20-year run as a huge box office draw, and everyone recognizes that as a superstar, like a movie opening superstar.
As a young person, you're saying, right?
Well, it could start later. It could be from age like 30 to 50. It doesn't have
what
to
about
start
The
with
Rock?
20.
Dwayne Johnson.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
He's had a hell of a run.
He has. I bet he's in his 50s, though, isn't he?
No, he is. I mean, all the people we're talking about, in fairness, are older.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, who's the person under? I said at first under 40, and now I'm even thinking under 45 because Ryan Reynolds is 47. I think Ryan Reynolds might be the last movie star. Ryan Reynolds may be the last movie star. That's my hot take for today.
That is a extremely on fire take. I'm looking through here for the best actors and actresses under 30. I don't know a single one of these people.
And maybe this speaks to our age too, to be fair. Maybe there is a sensation who is like a massive global star who you and I just don't know about because we're old. Like that is possible. That we're
Okay,
so
so
out of the culture.
but I have to read this because I find it funny. So these are the top 35 actors under 35 according to the Ringer, and this is from 2 years ago. But so you have Timothy Chalamet is number one, Margot Robbie is number two, Tom Holland is number four, Emma Stone is number six, Zendaya, who is the person I was thinking of earlier and totally butchered their name, was number eight. Michael B. Jordan is number nine. Brie Larson is 16. And then after that, I mean, it gets thin. I'm not going to lie. And I would say that none of these people, Chalamet, maybe Margot Robbie because of Barbie, and some other things that she's done.
If she has another Barbie-esque movie similar in terms of cultural,
I mean, she's been in a lot of things. The Wolf of Wall Street. The Wolf of Wall Street. What was the movie? Who cares?
But let me compare her to somebody that I'm talking about from another era, Julia Roberts.
Yeah, no.
See, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's one thing to say, oh, this person's a good actor, this person's famous, this person has had a movie that's made a lot of money.
There's a ton of women on here, man, because you have like Zoe Kravitz, you have Elizabeth Olsen, Anna de Armas, Dakota Johnson, which I know that movie didn't go well for her. But on the men's side, it is not very strong at all. I mean, we're really looking at Tom Holland and Michael B. Jordan.
Well, Brian, women are the future, right? Is that what the shirt says? Or
I don't know. Glass ceilings.
That's right. The glass ceiling is being shattered. There we go. All right. Any final thoughts, Brian, before we exit?
My wife wanted me to mention it, so I'm doing this for her, that Ben Affleck and Jennifer Lopez were officially going to get divorced. I really thought those kids were going to make it, but it didn't work out. What a surprise.
I know, right? This has been the longest. This has been like the divorce that we've seen coming for the longest period of time before being officially announced. Like,
but
people
you're
are saying
out in Hollywood, man, so you
6 months
stuff,
ago,
right?
Not really. You know what's funny is Ben Affleck lives 10 minutes from me, and so does Jennifer Garner. Like, literally 10 minutes. Now, that 10 minutes there's a big difference in that 10 minutes. Like that 10 minutes.
That 10 minutes is a lot of real estate, is what you're saying.
I live in a decent, okay neighborhood, but the neighborhood is different, even though it's only 10, maybe 15 minutes.
I think you're selling yourself short, but fair enough.
No, I'm not. Trust me.
No, you're not. Okay.
I'm not at all. It's a long 10 minutes, but it's only 10 minutes. All right. Yeah, I'm not surprised. I hope this is like,
yeah, no, I mean, dude, look, it's Jennifer the least Lopez, shocking thing I've ever heard.
Yeah, for Jennifer Lopez, this is I don't even know how many. It's a lot.
What a life. Elizabeth Taylor life she's lived.
I'm not a therapist. I hope they find happiness. I mean, I don't know what else to say about these things. Like, I'm not into this celebrity gossip thing. Like, what are you saying?
I thought that you were, or your wife was, or certainly my wife is.
No, my wife is. Yeah, no, my wife is. But no, it's look, it's one of those things that it's important. It's not important to, like, how Earth will move forward. It's important in that people care. Clearly, lots of people care. So in that regard, it is important, but it's one of those important things that I just don't know what to say about. Like, what do you say about what America?
What I said, which is I thought those kids were going to make it.
Right. That's right. Those crazy
I don't
kids.
care.
I can't believe
I could care less, man.
Right. All right. We'll get out of here. We'll come back to it and do it again next week. Thanks so much for being with us. For Brian Johnson, I'm Eric Messersmith. We hope that you enjoyed the show. But if not, please take no offense.